Hey, welcome to How to Build Your Own Home, and I want to talk about some tips when it comes to framing. When you do a custom home, you run into all kinds of things, and as you're building the home, you start to see a better way to do things to help with the look of the home, the functionality of the home, and a lot of that happens to do with the deck. So we're going to talk about a couple of tips today. First one here is a deck. Now, my engineer plans call for my 2x10 material to land on the beam. So imagine a beam right here, and this is a bracket for a beam that will land on the wall over there. It will land on the inside of that beam. The problem I saw with that is as I stepped away from the home, it limited the size of the deck. Given the elevations, given some things that were changed earlier on, it makes that deck look a little bigger or a little small, and I want it to be bigger. So we're going to take our 2x10 material and we're going to cantilever out over past the beam here. That will actually protect the beam. Now the beam is not exposed to the elements, it's now buried, and we're going to cantilever that out about 1.5 feet. Enlarge the beam, keep some protection from all of the lumber underneath the deck, and I'm going to have a bigger deck. And it's not changing my roof line because my beam is going to go straight up here. You'll see on a finished product when we finish this home, the beam goes right up this way and it supports the roof up above that. So it's not changing anything. And plus the material can handle that kind of a cantilever. All your lumber material, whether it's 2x10s, 2x12s, 2x14s, whatever, they all have a capacity for cantilevering out. And there's a lot of information out there to tell you. I called my engineer and he says, yeah, go ahead and cantilever it out 1.5 feet. And I'm good. Now, if the inspector calls that, he can write a letter. If the inspector doesn't see it, I'm not going to bother with having my engineer draft a letter to approve that. So that's tip number one, whether or not you can extend your porch out. I'm not changing the footprint of the home. The footprint of the home is based upon the foundation. It's not based upon cantilevering. For example, what I'm talking about here is that foundation is set specifically at the appropriate distance from the lot line. Even though this is changing that lot line, I've always been able to cantilever out to move the actual footprint of the house, but not the foundation. It's when you move the foundation that you run into some issues. So keep that in mind. Some cities may or may not let you cantilever out, but we're in a very rural area. It's not that big of a deal. So just make sure you check on that issue. Let's go to another tip number 2 real quick. Okay, tip 2 is your garage door height. I drive a truck. This is my office, and I want to be able to enter the house here. My client drives the same truck, the same lift, and it's the same height. So I wanted to make sure that my garage door is going to be just fine. My truck here is 6 feet and 3 inches, 4 inches. That's my height. The garage door is going to be 7 feet. Let's go to the garage door and I'll show you how that impacts everything. Okay, we're in the garage here, and I just wanted to double check. I've got a height there that is 9 feet high. If you talk to any garage door installer, they need at least 12 inches of clearance for the garage door mechanism to properly fit inside the home. Meaning that if it drops down to here, I've got at least more than that. If the top of the ceiling is right there, I've got 20 inches. So I was short 2 inches to lift this a full 8 inches. Because you see where my engineered trusses, I made that call earlier where I wanted engineered trusses and I want to set them inside the home. Well, that crowded my ceiling just a little bit. But I'm still okay. 7 feet's going to be fine. The truck can fit underneath that garage door. I'm good to go. I would have preferred an 8 foot, but I don't have the full clearance for that. I can't go with a 6.5 or 6 3/4 garage door. That becomes a problem. Contact your garage door installer, because then I'm dealing with a custom door, and that's more money, and I don't need to be spending more money when I can make that adjustment here. Now, if my client had a 6-inch lift on his truck and big knobby tires, then I would be changing that. These are things you want to look at. Again, that's tip number 1. Let's go to tip number 3. Tip number 3, it has to do with wall size, 2x4, 2x6. Every once in a while, you're going to want a 2x6 wall because there's a lot of benefits to that. Throughout the house, I actually redlined on the plan where I wanted 2x6 walls. Usually where there's a shower where I can have shelving inside the shower, next to a toilet, also where I have a kitchen, but that is typically on an exterior wall. So I was okay there. But anytime I had an interior wall where I have ventilation for a dryer system, I went for a 2x6 wall because it's really hard to fit that dryer vent inside a 2x4 wall. The other reason is this here wall, I didn't catch it on the plans. They framed it as a 2x4 wall, but this here's garage, cold environment. This here's conditioned space. So I'm asking my framer to go ahead and double wall this. So this here, from here to the outside of that wall, all the way to the inside, we're going to double wall that and make it a 2x6 wall. Actually, it's going to be more than that. It's going to be like a 2x7 wall. And that's going to be a benefit because not only am I'm going to have insulation in there, because this here is a 2x6 wall. Again, the difference between unconditioned space and conditioned space on the other side of that wall. So we're creating that same pattern throughout. But I have a 7x7 beam right here. It's going all the way up, and you can see it's supporting that quadruple ply LVL material, and the engineering calls for that 7x7 beam there. And you're going to find this to be the case. My engineer, probably smiling at him right now, and why he didn't just go ahead and infer this out. Why didn't he make this a 2x8 wall, which is what you see inside there. I've got a 2x8 wall in there sitting on top of a pony concrete wall. So rather than fur this out, I'm just going to hurry and make a whole double wall assembly there, and then we'll have that engineered post go all the way up, capture that quadruple ply, go all the way up, and capture a metal beam, which is just above us all the way as well. So just some tips, things to look out for, things to watch out for, things I'm going through. We'll do more posts on this job. We're at the Pinestead job up here in Pine Valley, Utah, giving you some tips on framing.